All right. So, Immy Mali, thank you so much for being here. And I would love to know where you're sitting right now, what it looks like when you look outside, where you are.
Well, right now, I'll just open one door.
Oh, great.
Then maybe I can carry my laptop to the door. Keys. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, so right now, I'm at my mom's house.
Okay.
And well,
Oh,
this
wow.
is right outside.
It's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Is this outside of Kampala?
Yes, so it's about 15 minutes outside Kampala.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes outside Kampala. If you don't have traffic jam, but with bad traffic jams, you could take 2 hours to get here.
Are you serious?
Yep.
That's
really bad.
amazing. Is that because Kampala has gotten so busy? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's gotten so busy, and suddenly everyone is all the people who, because I was away for 2 years.
When you were in Holland?
And most of my friends, yes, and most of my friends who were not driving are driving now. Yeah. So it's like almost everyone is now able to buy, and our public transport is really bad. So everyone wants to have their own car or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really crowded now.
So you're lucky to have a place to be outside of Kampala then, it sounds like.
Yes, no, it's definitely good. Definitely good, yeah.
That's great. Good.
Yeah, but it's good. Most people don't live in the city, really. Most people live on the outskirts because the city is mostly like a workspace, maybe.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so most people live outside. Most people kind of just travel to the city, do a few things, and then go out. It's a few Indian families, maybe, who live within Kampala.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And are you usually living at your mom's house, or is it just because of this pandemic that you're there?
Well, so I've been living here and in Entebbe. Entebbe is where I should be living. Okay. But then, we had a lockdown, and the lockdown found me here. Yeah. But also most of this time when I just came back, I kind of stayed here for a longer time. So I kind of stayed here more and more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And do you have a studio space there that you work in, or are you able to do your work there?
Well, I had a studio before I left. So my old bedroom was my studio, and now it's a bedroom again. So things are shifting around. I mostly, for now, I'd say I'm working on animations online and things like that, mostly. I do have a small space, but it's really squeezed, and I'm not able to make anything big in it, or any installations or anything like that. It's mostly, what I'm doing is most of the digital work, maybe drawing animations, kind of doing more writing and doing a bit of reading.
Animations like the dance and pole animation, like those?
Yes.
I love those. Yeah. I think they're really charming. They're really sort of addictive to watch also. Really like them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so those ones, some like that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were at Open Source Gallery in Brooklyn in 2018, fall of 2018, and it was such a phenomenal installation. Can you just give a little background to that installation, which I think is part of a longer project, just so people who may not be familiar with it have a little sense of what you've been working on?
Yeah. Well, so that particular project is part of a project that I call Letters to My Childhood. A project where I've been writing letters to my younger self between the ages of 5 and 12. Well, sometimes it goes to teenage years, a bit of teenage years, and then sometimes before I was 5, but yeah, something like that, roughly. And so the project that I did at Open Source was what I called a dressing chamber. which is a space that had these mirrors that are hand mirrors, dressing mirrors on a dressing table, but it was also looking at a dressing table as an in-between space.
Right.
As a
What does
space
that
where,
mean? A dressing table is an in-between space.
when I say in-between space, it's more like a space where you can be yourself. You can decide to be naked, or you can decide to do whatever you want there. But then it's also a space where you're kind of getting yourself ready for the public. So it's more a space where you can be yourself, but then again you're covering up. Like I personally would be most comfortable if I didn't have to wear any clothes. But then because I'm getting out, then I have to dress in a particular way,
Right.
something like that. So so it was a project like that. I also kind of did a second piece that is similar to that in 2019, last year. At the end of 2019 in Amsterdam, during the Rijks Open Studios.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so that was, the second piece came about because I wanted, when I did the piece at open source, the space allowed me to do a smaller piece. The vision slowly for this piece is to have as many people on it as possible, which is kind of my memory of what my childhood dressing room or bedroom was like, because you had cousins and then you had aunts and everyone was sleeping in one space. So it was sort of kind of trying to have as many people in this space as possible. So the second piece has about 8 people on it.
80?
8, and not 80.
80. Okay.
Well, that would be an impressive table with 80 people.
Exactly. So when you're talking about having cousins and aunts, so would people be sort of, they would be getting themselves together in the same dressing room? Would that be a place for conversation? And what are your memories of it?
Literally anything would happen there because it's your bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's the same space you're dressing in.
Right.
But then you have your cousins as well. It was more like most of the houses are built in such a way that you have a girl's room and a boy's room. So it doesn't matter which girls go in there or anything like that. As long as you're female, you're in the girls' room and things like that. And the only secluded room would probably be the parents' room or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a space definitely for conversations, a space where you do your hair, a space where you do all sorts of, let's say you probably would be grooming each other in a way.
Oh, that's a very sweet image. I like that. Yeah.
It is. It is, yeah.
It's very, very intimate. It's very sweet.
Yeah. So you'd have all sorts of things. There's also, of course, gossip spaces as well.
Right.
So it's all things that happen when girls get together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I know that one of your projects involved, I think, the different languages that you grew up with. And I was trying to find a recording of that. I didn't see one on your website that had a recording of the, I think you said there were sort of folk tales and songs in the different languages that you spoke.
Well, yeah, because I grew up in Jinja. So Jinja is in the east of Uganda.
Okay.
And the language there is Lusoga. My parents come from Arua. And Arua is, well, I would say I come from Arua as well. Arua is in the west, in the northwest of the country. And there the language is Lubara. And then I went to school in the central, which is where I am now, Kampala. And there the language is Luganda.
Is Luganda, okay.
Yeah. And then schooling and everything was done in English. You had to speak English in school. So yeah, that's how all these different languages come about.
And when you're at home now with your mom, what do you speak with her?
I sadly speak English.
Do you? Okay. Okay.
I speak English. With my aunts and cousins, I speak Lubara.
Okay.
You know, because like from when it was kind of emphasized from when we were children that you must speak good English. And in schools as well, you got punished for speaking bad English or speaking your local language or any language that was not English. You kind of got punished for it. So slowly speaking your mother tongue, kind of like, if I recall the times that it came up a lot, it was more when I frustrated my mom and she was too angry to express herself. English did not have the words to express the anger or something like that.
Right, right.
So somehow the mother tongue would come out, or if we're in a space and she wants to say something that no one else should understand, then would switch to a local language.
Right.
Things like that. So sadly, it still is a problem.
Yeah.
Speaking, I do speak it, but then if I went to my village in Arua and spoke it, people would be like, "What the heck are you saying? Like, what is that?"
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it wouldn't make any sense the way I'm speaking it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, as an American, you know, I'm so impressed that you were able to go back and forth between these languages. You know, I mean, that's it's just not the way many Americans grow up. I think. I mean, some obviously, but I think that you know, you were talking about 4 different languages, which is pretty cool. So I think.
Well, yeah. You have to learn to, because we have over 56 different languages. So you sort of have to be able to communicate.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning that in the space that you have now, you can't do some of the work that you would like to be able to do because it's not big enough. What other ways is this bananas situation affecting you, this crazy situation, this pandemic? Is it affecting your work in other ways? Do you think you'll develop a project out of this experience?
Well, I think so, because I think as artists, I would say maybe for myself, I find I've worked mostly in residencies. And sort of when you work in residencies, you're not in a very comfortable space, or in a space that you get too familiar with. So it's almost
short
like
term, you mean? Yeah.
So it's short term, but also you keep shifting. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, now I'm going to work in India. What kind of work am I going to make in India? You know, sort of that sort of mentality keeps happening. So I think I probably have not felt that pinch so much in terms of making work. I did get comfortable when I had 2 years in Holland, because that was 2 years of a constant studio.
Yeah.
So that definitely kind of made me start thinking of how to settle in a space.
Yeah.
But then as I was just getting settled in, the program got done, so I had to leave. And so it kind of went back to also the moving aspect as well. So I think now when I'm working on animations and making drawings and things like that, I find it's a challenge, yes, in the event that I have an idea and I want to probably build something, and maybe I can't do it.
Right.
But then I sort of switch from medium to medium. So I'm working on a sound project with a few friends that will hopefully finish by 1st of May. I don't know, but we'll see how that goes.
And are you doing that remotely with your friends?
Yes, I'm doing it remotely with my friends, and decided to start having some sort of conversations that maybe we'll put together in a way and then share that.
That is such a flexible reaction. That's terrific. Wow.
Yeah, we're doing it on phone calls, actually. So we just call each other then just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to try and see how that works out. And hopefully we'll be able to show it on 1st of May. And then also thinking of how, because just before this pandemic, or before the world sort of started shutting down, exactly. I started thinking of different ways of showing work, different ways of exhibitions, and I'd actually talked to one space, which maybe will work out. We're working on an online exhibition, but that was way before this came up.
That's
And so I was like, okay, this is it's something I was thinking of then, because I was just thinking of how do we as Ugandan artists or African artists archive the sort of work that we're making, because I know the reading culture is bad. So books are not going to be a good way of archiving unless they're very creative, interactive books. Then maybe in that way they can be. But the reading culture is bad. It's only growing. It's only a few people have started picking up and reading, but then it has to be a book that has pictures, or it has to be a book that is visually appealing for someone to delve into it. Yeah.
Well, I wish I could talk to you all day. That's really interesting. Do you think that has to do with the complication of 56 languages? Why do you think that the reading culture is as you're describing it?
I don't think it's the complication of the languages. I just think the way that information is passed on is a different way,
right,
than we look at. Because then when we think of archiving, for example, it's immediately the Western way of archiving, which that doesn't necessarily apply to the context.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I have been struggling with and trying to work my head around, because I'm like, okay, I'm doing all this work, but then how do I make it accessible for someone within Uganda? Because I've had people asking me and being like, Immy, what the heck are you doing? Like, what is this, Right. But there needs to be a way in which it can be accessed, and also for an archive that people want to access, to get into.
Yeah.
So it's just ways of thinking of how to apply oneself in all these spaces.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about your work in particular. The letters to is it Marsu? Do you pronounce it Marsu?
Machu.
That already begins by being a literary format. It's a written format, and then I think that the videos of you speaking the letters is a perfect way to keep that and to translate it. So that works well. I think letters that are both literary.
There was a moment.
There
was a moment where you froze.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There was a moment where you froze.
Well, I wasn't saying anything very interesting, but just that that the letters themselves are a literary format, but they also lend themselves to being read aloud, because letters are like that. They're wonderful to read aloud. So to have you reading to your younger self is a perfect way of archiving it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also that comes back to the sounds that you were talking about, that I think maybe I just put little clips of the sound. I'll see how to upload more of it. Okay. But then with the sound, it's also it's different songs and different stories and different sounds that are familiar from childhood and things like that. Yeah. And that, in my view, is something that someone can easily relate to. Yeah. And someone can maybe say, oh, I relate to this. I know this from somewhere, or something like that. So
like the truck song. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's and it's perfect timing. The pandemic is not usually perfect timing, but in terms of your online exhibition, that works well. And
yeah.
The friends that you're doing the phone calls with, are they artist friends? Are they people that you have collaborated with before? Just wondering about the sort of artist community that you usually work with.
So they are people that I have had conversations with, interesting conversations with before. Mm-hmm. They're friends, they're artists as well. And they're people who had shared the idea of finding a more creative way to make archives of our beings with. So yes, but there are also curators. There are also there are different people from the art world and the art field, but people who would be interested in sort of finding creative ways that are not museums or books or things like that. Yeah.
Do you think you can let me know or let Monica know when, if this project does indeed go live on May 1? I'd love to hear it.
Okay, I will let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will let you know. Right now, we're kind of working out ways in which it can happen.
Yeah.
I'm also keeping in mind that internet is not very accessible for everyone.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so we might, of course, start with the first one on internet, but then thinking maybe we need to think of radio, or we need to think of something else that could be more involving. Because not everyone is going to be able to access it via the internet, but we'll see. At least for the first bit on May 1st, I think it's going to be the internet.
Radio is a great idea, though. I think I've been interested to learn a little bit more about how community radio works, and that it can be a wonderful way to reach a lot of people. I think that's a neat idea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you a lot longer, although I really would love to talk longer. I wanted to just ask you about who are the artists that you're interested right now that you follow, that you think are doing interesting work, that you feel inspired by, that you try to go see?
Well, okay. Artists that I follow. One of the artists is Phoebe Boswell. She's a Kenyan and half British, half Kenyan. I always find her work amazing. She works with memory as well, so I guess that's why I'm drawn to it.
Yeah.
I do find her work impressive. I also find the work of what's the name? Sioya Kiambi. She's a Kenyan artist.
Okay.
She's a Kenyan artist. She works with archives, more colonial archives and things. Yeah, but then very interesting as well. The way she engages with them, the way she engages with them, the performances she makes from them, and things like that. So
great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right, Immy, I'm so glad.
I don't know.
What's that?
Yeah. No. I was going to say at one point I found Mike Kelly's work very exciting as well. So I think it's also just the childhood element. You know?
But his work has a very dark, right? I mean, it's a very, very dark way of looking at it, and you never really know what's going on under those bits, you know? It's interesting that you followed his work. All right.
Well, I did find his work interesting a lot in 2018.
Yeah.
So I did do a bit of reading about his work.
Yeah. That's super. Okay. That's really interesting. All right. Well, it seems like despite these extraordinary circumstances, you're really finding a way to keep going and a way to respond in a very creative manner, you know? I mean, I find that really inspiring, that you and the people that you and your friends who are doing the phone calls are finding a way to respond, and that you yourself are just keep going, you know?
Yeah, well, you've got to keep going, because what else can you do? Yeah, because if you sit back and then sob about it, then there's nothing done anyway. So you've just
really
got to keep going.
It's really true. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Immy. I really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you for calling.
Of course. Let's talk again. I would love to.
Okay, say hi to everyone.
I
Say hi
will.
to Monica.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.